be laughing.
Hi, everybody.
Just kidding. Laughing is okay.
Laughing's good. Well, because it's always fun. Because you were saying let's put something else in the title. I'm like, forget it. Let's just go.
Yeah, because we're 4 minutes after time. Joe is really, really good about being punctual. I tend to look at everything. I feel like, so I like being a pirate. I think I was a pirate in my formal life.
Pirate?
I do like being a pirate. And so anytime I hear that there's the rules in my head, it goes, they're more like guidelines, really, which is a terrible accent. So don't quote that anywhere. But so he's like, it's 1 o'clock. We got to get on. And I'm like, it's more like guidelines, really. We'll be there at 1-ish. But I'm going to do better, guys. I'm going to do better. So we are back today. You love me. You love being married to a pirate. Admit it.
A pirate wannabe?
Yeah.
She's not a real pirate. It's not like you're plundering the seas.
I don't wannabe. No, I'm more like an adventure pirate. And I might plunder the seas if I actually like the ocean.
Sure.
Just kidding. I must have been eaten by a shark in my previous life.
Quite possibly.
I was a pirate. No, okay, okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, you guys. Welcome back to Cash and Courage. We are here with an episode of Expectations Strike Back. And I'm so excited for the people that are here live. So if you're here live, we have something special for you today. So stay here because we're going to be doing a little bit of deep diving into your money and what's going on in your life for those who are brave enough to post in the comments. So we kind of want to use this as an opportunity to do some live hot seats. Because something really interesting happened. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, my gosh, this is great. Now I can move over. Look, I'm actually on the screen, and I don't have to be like, yeah, but it was more like this. Hi, everybody. Now I can just be here. So all of that to say, sometimes Joe forgets that us mere mortals don't always. No, I'm just kidding. We don't always connect the dots when it comes to the things that he sees and he hears. And that is part of his gift, right? Is that he can hear and see and feel between the lines to really understand what the story is that our money has had in our life and the way that it's impacting us.
Well, I think it's more than like, for me, I'm just like, doesn't everybody just see it the way I see it? Right. And then I have to remind myself, no, everybody doesn't. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Right.
Remember, you guys, that sometimes our magic feels mundane because we live with it every day, but it isn't. It isn't. Like, our magic is magical to the people outside of us. It is life-changing. It is world-altering. It is all of those things. So, babe, I'm just here to remind you that what you do is magic in all the best ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's super powerful. So what happened over the weekend? You guys all know I meet with Joe.
Well, can we give a little context between this, right?
Yeah, we can give some
Expectations strike back a little bit. So by far, since we did expectations, went on to 3 weeks ago, right?
Because we did the 3 evil X's: expectations, excuses, explanations.
So it was like a month ago. It was like 4 weeks ago now, right? That we did.
Yeah.
So it was like 3 episodes in the past. Whatever. Go find it. I've had a lot of people commenting on things, and people would reach out with questions, and Debbie's had questions, and like, I just figured, hey, let's talk about the 3 evil X's. We'll start with expectations because for me, that's the easiest one because we live with tons of expectations, placed on by other people. But I didn't realize how wildly popular it would be. So we've had a lot of conversations since that episode just about more of expectations. And so that's what brings, expectations straight back. That's what brings back today's episode. And then Debbie and I were having a conversation over the weekend, and we'll talk about that. But that's just some background, right? Why we brought expectations back, because a lot of people struggle with this. Like, I didn't realize the struggle that people have with expectations.
And I didn't realize that I didn't understand expectations fully. Like, I was like, I got this. I know expectations on relationships. It pushes people away. It divides us from ourselves. Like, yeah, I get it. I get expectations. And then this weekend, we were talking about my personal money issues in our meeting together. And Joe comes up with this question, and he always asks the weirdest questions, you guys. But he said to me, what expectations do I believe my family has for me in our relationship? And I was like, this is a money meeting, not a therapy session. And he's like, just go with me on this. Okay. So what expectations do I believe my family has for me in our relationship? And I wrote my expectations down. I made a really nice list because it's what I believe, right? This is what I think the expectation is here that I'm trying to live up to. And I made that list. And then Joe says to me, okay, now how does that relate to money? And I was just like, I don't get it. I don't get it, Joe. I don't get the dot that you're trying to connect. And so today I wanted him to be here live to help all of us connect that dot. And you're up for that, right? I just want to double check one more time before I get you in over your head.
I'm always up for the challenge.
Awesome. I love this. So this is the question that I want to pose. I'm going to pose this question to you guys so you can come up with one. I just want you to think about one. What is one expectation that you believe someone in your life has for you? It can be family, it can be a spouse, it can be kids, it can be a friend, it can be a business partner. Just like when you think somebody has an expectation from you, what is that expectation that you believe somebody else has for you? And while you're thinking on that, and if you are feeling brave and want to join and want Joe's input on this, I'm going to encourage you to put that expectation in the comment box. And I'm pointing over here because it's over here, but if you're on a phone, it may be down here. But to share or no, I don't know. Anyway, somewhere on this page, there's a comment box.
That way.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a comment
is it?
box. Yeah, you're going to point out it's this way. You're like, it's all over there. Everything's backwards, remember?
Oh my gosh, I can't with this space. No, just kidding. So what we're looking for is for you to share that expectation. And I'll give you an example. One of the expectations that I believe that my family has for me is that I will always be present for their functions and events, always. Notice I used always twice. That was very much on purpose.
That's what actually triggered this whole conversation.
It really was.
Right.
It would trigger the whole, because it was just like, okay, what was last week like? Blah, blah, blah. And I got a text. And apparently I was a lot more angry about that text than I had understood. Right? It was the invite. It was the like, you guys got to be here at this time. And I was just like, whoa. Like, be at Great Uncle Bob's on this day. And you're like, what? I don't even know. Who is Great Uncle Bob? I don't know him from Adam. So anyway, there's a whole list. I won't go into the whole list, but the first one that came up for me is that the expectation that I believe my family holds for me is that I will always be present for their functions and events, always, whether it's special dinners, weddings, barbecues, funerals, showers, random, you must be here for Uncle Bob's, whatever.
All cases,
in all cases.
Which is interesting, right? Because that I mean, there's an expectation that you have, or they have, that you've allowed for them to have.
Right. And again, Joe, you pointed this out really powerfully. It doesn't necessarily mean the expectation is true. If you were to go interview all my family members, maybe they wouldn't respond that I'm expected to be there. But that's what it feels like on my side. On my side, based on past data, it makes me feel, and it's kind of programmed this belief that that's the expectation.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, brings up a lot of things, right, while we're talking on the subject.
And while we're going to keep talking for just a minute, because I really want you guys to share, this is your chance to have the money guru, expert, master of awesomeness help you connect the dot to how this is impacting your money, okay? So please, if you're feeling courageous, share what's the expectation that someone in your life has for you. And you don't have to call out who it is. Nobody needs to know who sent me the text. You guys don't need to know, but just share the expectation. So go ahead. What were you saying?
What was I saying? Oh, okay. Back to, and I think we may have covered this last time we talked about expectations, but really expectations, I mean, you look at this, and in your case, Deb, right, there was there's this perceived exception, right, for your boundaries. Like, my boundaries are X with such a person, but I have this expectation or this rule processing that says, except for in this one case, when they send you a text and invite you to family functions, then you must disregard all boundaries set up and allow them in.
Because this is very clear. I have very clear boundaries. I'm not as good as boundaries as Joe is, but I have very clear boundaries on what I will attend and what I will not attend, and what kind of time frame or notice I need. I have all of those things, and I do a fairly good job. Maybe, would you say I'm a 60% or 80% when it comes to holding my boundaries? Like, I'm pretty good at it.
Depends on who it is.
Yeah, it does. But here's the thing. Let's say
like 80% of the time.
80% of the time. But then I get these exceptions, and that's what happened. Is like, all of a sudden I feel angry because I feel like my boundary is being violated, because the program is telling me I have to make an exception. That in order to be a good daughter, a good granddaughter, a good niece, a good whatever, I have to allow this exception to the boundary, even though it's not what I want. And then
Because
I
you're
get
expected,
triggered
right?
and I get upset. Yeah, because I feel like I'm expected. And then I'm angry and then I'm hurt. And then, the whole list of things will happen based on this expectation. And I feel like where we left it last time, scroll and make sure that there's not any other. You guys aren't sharing your expectations. I'm telling you. That's okay. I will just do my example and then you just won't have Joe to help you connect the dot on your example. But where we left, I feel like where we left expectations last time is that, that happens, that makes us play smaller, that makes us push other people away. We separate from self, we separate from higher power, we separate from others. And in that separating, we lose out on certain resources that could be showing up in our life. I feel like that's where we left it.
And kind of, overall, but think of the impact. I want everybody to think about this just for a moment, right? Because we talk about all the boundaries and expectations and like this exception you have to your boundaries, all this stuff, right? And it's really cool. But think about back in the beginning with all this, it was a simple text.
Mm-hmm.
It's all to set all this off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're not looking for some big blow up from somebody or some real, like, it doesn't have to be like this large scale massive attack on your character.
It was simply
all this to come
Uncle
through.
So-and-so wants you guys to be here because he wants to see everybody, kind of last days kind of thing, from someone that I don't even know. Like, seriously, it's like an uncle of an uncle of an uncle. I never heard that name before in my life, and was like, and the address is in, you can find the address here. Like, and I don't even own that thing where the address is located. So not only was there an expectation that I would just show up to Uncle So-and-so's, whatever it was, but there's also an expectation that I had some directory that I didn't have and that I would know exactly where to find that address. And it was that simple. It wasn't mean. It wasn't malicious. It was just Uncle So-and-so wants to see everybody. The address is located here. That's it.
Yeah.
And yet it led to this really visceral response.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It usually does. So pay attention to when little things like this pop up, right? Because most of the time for most people, you might get a small reaction at the time, right? When these expectations show up and the boundary violations and all this stuff, you'll just get a little ping like, oh, I don't like this, but I'm going to do it because of X, Y, and Z, right? You'll hear yourself in your head say this.
Yeah.
But you're not aware of it enough to really take action against it because it's just the common programming that happens.
I would have not thought a thing about it unless I was sitting in the meeting with Joe having this conversation and being like, yeah, this happened this week. And then he asked me a few more questions. And before I knew it, I was like on the verge of yelling, and I was almost on the verge of tears. I probably was yelling and on the verge of tears because I felt so hurt by a text that was so not hurtful.
Yeah, right? So just pay attention to those. So Pearl put something in here for us.
So I'm going to use my example first, and then we'll get to Pearl.
Okay.
So when we're looking at, so Joe asked me the expectation, and I shared it, that I will always be present for their functions and events always. And then he goes, so how does that relate to money? And I was like, I'm not picking up what you're putting down. I'm like, I really need your help here. I wasn't seeing it. And at first I thought, well, maybe that I expect money to be present for me no matter what. Like, and I'm like, but I don't feel like that's a bad thing. I'm not quite getting it. And he goes, okay, let me help you. And he goes, here's the thing. If people pay you, then you feel you always have to show up how and when they tell you to. There's no choice. And I was like, he's right. Like, it blew my mind. It blew my mind.
Face you had too.
That was it. Was that a good face? That's really how I responded, because I was like, it's true. When I receive payment from people, suddenly I feel like I'm not allowed to have boundaries. And it's very hard for me to hold the boundaries in respect to the things that they buy. And it doesn't matter whether they pay me $10 or $20 or...
Yeah, for you, it's never mattered.
It's not the amount. It's just like, someone paid me $10. That means I have to make myself available whenever, wherever, however they require that. Like, suddenly I give the power, my ownership of self over to another individual because they paid me. Okay. So that's where the money story came in. And he just went down my list. Boom, boom, boom. If this, then that. Like, another one is, one of my ones is that I'll never disagree with them. That's an expectation I think my family holds, that I will never disagree. And on the other side of that, I will never disagree with people who pay me. How crazy is that?
But they don't pay you to agree with them.
I know they pay me to help them.
Well, maybe
But
some
there's
people
a
could
fear.
like pay you to agree with them, and then they're just wasting their money.
Right. Don't pay me to agree with you, because that's not what you want to hire me for. But that being said, I can see how this is impacting my desire to go out and drive traffic to my offerings and to work with people. I get tired really, really fast because I'm spending a lot of time and energy just trying to hold a boundary, because the program inside my head is telling me that I have to answer this expectation.
Right. And think about it like from that expectation, because a lot of you, like Debbie's not like, she's sharing this to be super like vulnerable, but that's just who she is, and she'll do it, right?
For you,
But
because
the
I love
thing
you.
is
No expectations or strings attached.
But everybody can find similar things in their life, right? We'll get to Pearl mentioned something, and so did Karen. But here's the deal, right? If you think about that last one, right? That if people show up no matter what, I got to respond to them and all this stuff, and it does really weird stuff to us. So now, how are you going to put ads out there? Because every time you put ads out there, guaranteed you're going to get people responding back to you and trolling you. Because it happens, it's the internet. Like, it happens 100%. Every time I run ads, I get trolls too, right? So then we start feeling like, hey, if we have this expectation in these other areas of our life, then pretty soon it's like we don't have boundaries, and just like everybody who shows up now gets a piece of our time and all that jazz, right?
Right? If they show up on my ad, my boundaries are telling me I can't disagree with them. My boundaries are telling me I have to be nice to them. My boundaries are telling me that I can't delete that comment because someone commented. How dare I delete a troll?
Right. So now we start to allow. So see how expectations quickly turn into boundary violations. And so the stronger we are with our boundaries and the less expectations we have, right? Because
can I take that one step further before you keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Expectation leads to boundary violation. Boundary violation leads to us playing small. Because we don't want to have to keep showing up the way that others expect us to show up. It doesn't feel good to us. So instead of holding the boundary and practicing holding the boundary, we tend to shrink and pull back and not run those ads again, or not do that thing again, or not continue pressing for whatever, because we're afraid of having to deal with the expectations of others and kind of the fallout that we may or may not have experienced with those expectations over time. Okay, so that's kind of where that's leading. So sorry, back to what you were saying, if you remember still.
I don't remember. Sorry, lost that.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Anyways, with the expectations, I think I was saying something around the expectations quickly turn to boundary violations, right? And we get mad at ourselves. Then it just turns into a mess, right? Have better boundaries and drop your expectations, because expectations never serve you. Okay, so let's get with, so we actually have 3 people who respond.
Yay! Thank you, Pearl, Karen, and Amy. We're so excited. Thank you for being brave and sharing the expectation that you see or have experienced in your life. So who do you want to start with?
We'll start with Pearl. Let's go in order.
Okay.
Bam, bam, bam. Right.
So Pearl said one expectation that she receives from someone in her life, we don't have to name anyone, thank you, Pearl, is that she will always fail. That's the expectation from one or more people in her life, that she will always fail.
Mm-hmm. I see this a lot with people, right? And when it comes to money, Pearl, like when you look at this expectation that you always fail, right? They've labeled you, right? And so then you wear that label around. So when you go to put your stuff out in the world, right? Look at like your writing or the other endeavors you've tried, right? When you go to do that, then there's already this air of, I'm going to fail. So at some point there's like, why even try? Like you still go through the motions, but it's like, why even try, right? The universe, God, higher power, whoever it is that you talk to, right? As we put those intentions out for money, part of what you're putting out there at the same time is, I'm going to fail. So there's this air of doubt that gets stuck in with money, right?
So what I'm hearing with this too is, and I'm just using what you gave me over the weekend, if people pay me, I will fail them. So if people pay me and buy my book, they're going to hate my book. If people pay me for whatever other cause I'm associated with or whatever endeavor, if I get a job somewhere, they're going to fire me. I'm going to fail. Like, it doesn't matter how that money comes in. Eventually, I'm going to fail them, and it's going to lead to loss and poverty. That's what I'm picking up from that.
Mm-hmm. You can go one step further too.
Do it.
So,
or are you gonna?
What?
Okay, go.
I mean,
I'm getting ready to have my mind blown.
At the end of the day, really, Pearl, for you, one thing holding you back is that money will fail you, right? That's the program going on. So why do you want more of something that's just going to fail you? Because what it will do is it will continue to remind you of the the perceived truth on those air quotes, right? Because that's really important that other people say about you, right? So for you to fix this, honestly, it's going to be reframing and getting rid of that failure energy from you, right? To let that go. That's not who you are. Because if money fails you every time, then why do you want more of it? Like it's not a situations in your life have done a good job of not getting you to where you want to go, right? I'm going to put it like that. Don't let money be the cause of you not publishing, not getting your book out there, right? Change that failure energy and how you feel into accomplishment energy.
Because I think Pearl just got published. If I remember right, Pearl, you have a story out now, like it happened recently. Like comment below and let us know. And I'm going to say even put the link in there. Share your link below to your recent publication so that other people can see and support you.
Oh yeah, that's fine in here.
Is that, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's really going to be working on that failure energy because again, money is just a relationship. So how you interact and how you feel towards other relationships are going to be how you feel towards money. Okay. So I'd start there and then, keep coming back and we can give you more, but for right there, that's a good place to start for you.
Very cool. So Karen says, I'm always available even when I have said I'm not. That's the expectation, that she's always available even when she said she's not.
And Karen, I know about you because you're getting better with those boundaries, right? But here's the deal with that overall is to reframe that.
Well, let's start with, is this a if people pay me kind of conversation, or is this a money? Because I noticed with Pearl, you were like, deeper than that, money fails. If that money will always fail me. So I'm curious on Karen, is this a, if people pay me, if I receive their money, then I'm always available even when I've said I'm not. Is that the money thing that you're hearing with Karen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Karen. So that's what it is. It's connected, not because Pearl's was connected deeper into even how money shows up. This expectation for you is connected to, if people pay you, then suddenly you have to show up, even when you've said you're not going to, or you'll lose. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What else are you thinking or hearing?
And for you, Karen, just because we work together, right? I know a little bit more, but over here, I mean, that's really the boundaries, right, that we've worked on. Right, so stick with the boundaries because you want to show up for people, right? And when we look at money and what you're generating, right, money wants to show up for you, but you have to give up boundaries and guidelines, right? Money still wants boundaries. It's like, again, back to relationship stuff. It's a good friend. So still wants those boundaries. You're like, hey, as you take care of yourself and enhance your boundaries around when it's your time versus when it's time for other people, money will respect that same thing. And you'll see more of it start to flow in greater quantities because it understands that you're a steward of the resources you're giving, and the time right now is like all over the place, right? Your time. So hone in on those boundaries around time and when you're available, when you're not, and you'll actually see more of the money start flowing in from your clients. You'll start picking up more clients and they'll respect your time because you've set that boundary, right? You won't be there. You won't feel like you're there at times when you don't want to be, because otherwise then you're starting to carry, Pearl, we talked about failure energy. You're going to start to carry around kind of resentment energy, and people feel that. Right. And then the money starts to go away because it feels like because you're resenting other people, you're going to start resenting it. Because again, just a relationship.
It's fascinating how all of this kind of stacks up in like the dots or the dominoes. It feels like dominoes. This one expectation gets knocked over, which leads to this boundary violation, which leads to this kind of energy, which leads to pushing or whatever, rejecting money and so on and so forth. So this is all super, super fascinating. Thank you, Karen. Anything else you want to say on that one?
Nope, that's good.
Okay. Moving on to Amy. I feel like my family expects me to put as much work in at home as I do at school during the week once the school year begins. So my family expects me to put as much work in at home as I do in the school year once the school year begins. So is this if
so
people pay me? Oh, go ahead.
Around when people pay you, Amy, I think yours is kind of the same, right? As kind of Karen's is when people pay you, then you're expected to just like be there for them, right? At whatever.
And you have to put in the maximum. What I'm hearing is maximum capacity in all facets of life. Like when we look at life, someone once taught me this and I was really grateful, is that we talk about giving our 100%. And we talk about that as though we can give 100% of 100% to everything that we do. When in actuality, if we look at our lives, School takes up a certain percentage, home life takes up a certain percentage, parenting has a certain percent, you know, and if you just want to look at those three rules, school, home, and parenting, that's like 33%. Now I know there's other facets of life, but it feels like what you're saying is the expectation is that I'm giving 100% of 100% to school, 100% of 100% here, and 100% of 100% here. When in actuality, what we want to be looking at is giving 100% of that 33%, and 100% of this 33%, and 100% of this 33%, understanding that that 100% can look different from day to day.
Well, that's what will solve it, right? But here's what's driving your. So I got it right after you start talking. So here's what's driving you, Amy. You're driving, or what's driving you is a incessant need to over deliver, right? Because that's all you're hearing. Oh, I need to deliver more. I need to deliver more. So what happens is with money and with your clients and with the projects you do, that you have to over deliver before anybody's willing to pay, right?
And we're talking pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're capable of.
I
know what you're
you
creating.
put together, right? In the class you do. And really there's that thought, like, I just have to over deliver and like basically kill myself and put in like all this extra work just so they'll pay me, right? And then there's lots of things there for you about like what your price points are and things like that. But yeah, this incessant need to the expectation to feel like, you know, I just have to give like over 100% of myself before people actually see me and then give me money.
So it feels like you're always trying to give 300% in order for people to value what you bring to the table.
Yep.
Whether that's at home through the ways they interact with you, or in the workplace in how they see you, or the raises or investments they're willing to make into you.
Yep. I can tell you, for you, Amy, until you value yourself and what you do, then nobody else will.
And you are getting there. You guys, I work with Amy. She's
and I
one
know
of
that,
my
right?
secret rebels.
I just want to call out, because that's where it all starts, right? If you want other people to value what you're doing, you got to value you, not necessarily your art and your dancing and all that other stuff. Those are great things, but you value you, and people will start to see that in the work, and you don't have to deliver as much, right? They'll see you for who you are. You want to fill that in with the tasks that you're doing.
So what that is, for anyone listening, when you find that you're coming back to something that you're like, no, I've been doing this for a while, I should be past this. There's no past this. It's just another layer.
Yep.
So that's just an invitation to go to the next layer and go, okay, what's the next level of depth that I need to love myself with? And I know Amy knows this, so I'm explaining it to everybody else. But it's just that invitation to go to the next layer and go, what's here that I need to love that I'm not loving?
Yep.
What parts of me have I not seen yet, and I'm not recognizing, and I'm not honoring the way that I've honored these other layers that I've already learned to love? So that's all that means. When we feel like we're circling back to something we've done before, it's just a staircase. We've just gotten to the kind of the same place on the staircase, just at a different level.
Yep.
So
there's always room for up levels, right?
Always. Guys, every week you should see me in here with Joe sitting in this chair, just being like, like I thought I was over this. And being shown again and again and again that this is just a new level, because I'm trying to do really big, expansive things all at once. And so that's going to require big, expansive personal development work all at once, because you can't create the ginormous things you want to create if your mindset and your view of self and all of those other things are like this. Your relationship with money, that has to work in tandem with the external creation that you're putting into the world. So know that whatever your momentum you're trying to get on your external creation, that's going to be reflected on what's required of your internal transformation. Okay? So all of this to say, you guys, thank you so much for those who were brave today and shared this in the comments. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for letting Joe use his superpowers on your behalf, because I think sometimes we talk about these concepts, but then it's like, oh my gosh, this is really how we implement that
to us, right?
Right? Like where is that dot connecting? And when I went through, I'm not even going to flash this because I don't want it to be paused. Not that anyone, but just in case. But I have at least 10 expectations, and some of them are really like surprising to me, that I'm all like, oh my gosh, I do feel that way, that they expect this from me. I have all of that. And then I went through, and Joe helped me to connect the dot on the other side to go, this is what it's saying. It's either saying this about money, or it's saying this about what people pay you, the expectation from people who pay you, or the expectation you have from yourself. And to have him here with me going through it and going, oh, this one's about this one's about this, so that I could see the pattern and the belief system that I've been creating for myself, even though, because y'all know I'm all about living by your own set of rules, but sometimes you don't even know that there is a rule in a play. Like, sorry, I'm shaking everything.
Look at, I mean, you easily, and this was like a 5-minute exercise. She came with 10 rules she was living by that she thought she had solved a lot of them, but it's like, then we took those 10, right, and then boiled it down and said, okay, so what's this really affecting? And how's that affecting what you're making and the money that you're generating through, the endeavors you're trying to do? And
even my willingness to put my endeavors into the world. Because I'm like, you're right. If I think that these people are going to expect these 10 plus things from me, then that's why I'm not talking louder. That's not why I'm not sharing things, because I'm already feeling the weight. Every time you try to
put it out there, you're like, nope, because I'm playing by these rules.
Because I'm like, I do not want to have to show up for people how they tell me to. I don't want to do that. I want to serve them, but I don't want to be at their beck and call. I do not want to have to agree with them in every way, shape, and form. Because honestly, sometimes I just plain out disagree. Because it's like, no, you're playing smaller. No, like, you're not doing what you could be doing because of fear. Sorry, I'm like, oh, I'll put that soapbox away before I get on it too hard. But there are some solid truths when it comes to creation work that I have to be able to stand and say, this is what's happening if I'm going to serve my people. And yet these expectations, because they're standing in my way. They're keeping me from standing in my full power. And so when Joe was like, what do we want to talk about today? I'm like, oh, I know what we're talking about. We're talking about this. Because this was mind-blowing to me. And this just reminds me again and again and again the importance of having someone in your life who can help you navigate all of this. Call it out. Help you be aware. Be accountable for the changing so you can actually and take the action so you can actually have the transformation. So I'm just going to put it out there again for all my little friends out in the interwebs, that if you want to have influence, if you want to create an impact that is bigger than where you are today, if you are looking to expand and really fill out your sacred creation, your call in this season, it is imperative that you have someone on your side who can hold you accountable, who can help you be aware and help you take the action so that you reach the transformation you're looking for. And in the world of money, there is not a better person that I found than Mr. Joe Burns. And I know I'm biased because I'm your wife, but I've worked with other money coaches as well. I always come back to him. It's true.
I laugh because you've like been, okay, cool, thanks, Joe, that works. And then you go work with other people and you come back, okay, that didn't work. Like, it's true.
There's the power that you have in your gift and your ability to do the work that you do. So if you are looking to make more money and expand your reach and all those things we've talked about, if you're ready to go through your expectations and discover what they really say about your money relationships and how you can adjust both to not only be free of the expectations of these relationships, but of people relationships, but also to free yourself of the expectations connected to your money relationship, then say yes in the comments below or send Joe a DM and you guys get on the phone and talk. At least find out what the possibility is for you, because it's time. This is what I know as a leader of Sacred Rebels. And I know we kind of come together in this Cash and Courage because I'm here helping people really tap into their sacred creation. Joe's here really helping people on the money relationship side. And there is some overlap here in the work that we do.
A little bit.
Because what I know as a leader of Sacred Rebels is that now is the time for us to own and to fully fill out our sacred creation. A lot of us are playing at that 18 to 20%. We're playing here when we are designed and the space is already available to us to play here. And we're doing that because of doubt, fear, and other issues like these expectations getting in the way. But the planet needs us. Humanity needs us. There are already prayers going out into the universe for leaders to rise up, for visionaries to take their stand, for innovators to start operating in the world that is different than the way that has been done before. That is already happening, and the world is already calling for something new to be added to our world so we can get to a better place of being as humanity. So if that is you and you are called, then please answer that call. And if it's not us to be a mentor and help you along your path, find someone. I'm going to highly recommend us. But find someone, because the time is now and you are too powerful to play it small.
Yep.
Do you have anything you want to say? I'll get off the soapbox. We'll just stay here because last time they were like, no, I can totally hear you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was doing this. And they're like, no, I can hear you. I can see you. I was like, great.
Thanks, Facebook.
Thanks, Facebook.
Anyways, either we cut out or we're still here, but thanks for joining us. I mean, come back here next week as we talk about, I don't know yet. We'll find something.
I have an idea.
I do too, but
we'll
if
talk.
I say it this week, by next week I might forget. So
yeah,
it's whatever we want to share that will help you guys. What we discovered last week or been asked about. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.